Hey guys! In today's video, I'm going to go over 5 plants that I personally believe are awesome if you're a houseplant beginner. If you guys are looking to get into plants, but maybe you have been neglectful of plants in the past, maybe you are a chronic underwaterer, these 5 plants are awesome and I think they would be great for you, and they are basically impossible to kill. Talking about is the spider plant. Spider plants tolerate many different conditions, although they really do like bright and direct light. And with bright and direct light, they're going to grow their best. They are very fast growers, and so they can become pot bound pretty quickly. So spider plants really prefer well-draining soil, and they like to dry out between waterings. How I personally check, I just put my finger inside the soil. If it's dry, then I'll give it a good watering. If it's still moist, then I leave it alone. Spider plants really don't want to have wet roots, so it is important that you don't water them too much. Spider plants are also really great if you want to add some decor to your home. They look really awesome in hanging baskets, and they can make a really big statement. When they get really large, they start producing the offsets, which are the little spider plant babies. So this spider plant, actually, my mom gave to me. She has like a massive spider plant hanging in a pot, and it has, I don't even know, maybe 15 offshoots the last time that I saw it. So she gave me this one back in December. Over Christmas, and it's already gotten this big. It was not this big when she gave it to me. So they are very fast growing, so it's really satisfying to be able to come in literally the next day and see how much it's grown. Magnificent houseplant for first-time plant owners is a Pothos vine. These are also called devil's ivy because they're actually kind of invasive in some places. Indoors, obviously, we want them to grow, so it's not a big deal. Pothos can tolerate many different lighting situations. Ideally, they would prefer bright and direct light, but they can grow in low light as well. They're not going to grow as fast, and their leaves may not get as large, but they will still grow. There are a lot of different variations of Pothos. I know there's a Marble Queen, Jade, Neon, and a few others. This Pothos, you can start to see the variegation on it. This one I actually keep in my kitchen, and Pothos can do well under fluorescent lighting. Under the kitchen light, it grows pretty well. I have another Pothos that actually gets really nice bright and direct light, and you can tell the difference between the two. My other Pothos grows a lot quicker, and the leaves are much more variegated since they're receiving so much sunlight. But for a first-time plant owner, these are great. They grow fast, they tolerate so many different conditions. These are also really cool if you want to put them in a hanging basket and let them trail down, or if you want to put them under a trellis and let them climb up. They grow so fast, so there's a lot of things that you can do with them. Some people prefer to keep them short and keep them bushy. Really doesn't matter. Pothos also are very easily propagated. You can just cut them beneath a node and either stick that in water or back in soil, and it will grow. This one is from my mother-in-law, and we have probably 6 other Pothos that are all just cut from these vines. As far as watering, Pothos are pretty hardy. They can go without water, but just put your finger in the dirt and see if it's dry. If it's dry, usually about 2 inches down, then I would go ahead and water it. So as always with the Pothos, moderate, bright, and direct light is best, but again, they can tolerate low light extremely well, and office light, so fluorescent lighting. If you want to put one in your office, a Pothos is a great choice to put in an office. This is honestly the #1 houseplant I would recommend if you have a black thumb or you just don't know anything about plants at all. Pothos will make you feel like you are the best gardener and have the greenest thumb alive. They make me feel so good because of how well they thrive in any condition. So the next plant that I would recommend for a houseplant beginner is a jade succulent tree. Jade succulents prefer bright indirect light. They are succulents, so they do love warm, dry conditions. So most homes are not humid, so a house is a great place for a jade plant. I keep mine in a south-facing window. I've read that they really shouldn't get direct sunlight, but mine thrives the best in direct sunlight. Probably gets 7 or 8 hours of direct sunlight a day, and it grows like a weed. Jade plants are easily propagated, so if you either knock a leaf off or you actually purposely break a leaf off, give it a few days and let it callus over. After a while, if you just leave it in the dirt, spritz it occasionally with water, it should develop roots, and then you will have a separate jade tree. Jade trees do not need much water. They are a succulent, so if you are an overwaterer, be wary of jade trees. Succulents really don't want to have wet feet. I don't water mine very often at all, and when I do, I don't soak it or anything. I just give it maybe 2 tablespoons or so of water. Are highly resilient plants no matter what, but again, if you have a south-facing window that gets a lot of sun, just put it over there and you'll be amazed at how fast it grows. And the best thing about jade trees is that they live an extremely long time. So in 30 years, when I'm in my 50s, I will probably still have this guy, and they can grow over 3 feet tall. They actually develop woody, thick stems. They're a very satisfying plant with how fast they grow, and they may be with you a very, very long time. That I would recommend for a houseplant beginner is a Chinese Evergreen. These guys can tolerate many different conditions as well. They will grow well in low light, although they won't grow quickly, they will still survive. But moderate light really is the best light for Chinese Evergreens. They do prefer a well-draining soil, so a cactus, palm, citrus soil. Something very loose and aerated with some perlite in it would be great for a Chinese Evergreen. So because they don't like to get wet roots, you really don't have to water them too often. Although these plants are slow growing, I do have a large one over in the corner over there that produced this baby for me and actually produced about 4. So after a while, they will start producing other plants, which is awesome. Then you can cut them off and gift them to other people. Like I said, these tolerate many different growing conditions, so if you have a room that doesn't get much light and you put a Chinese Evergreen in it, I'm sure it will survive. Chinese Evergreens are also wonderful plants for the office because they do tolerate fluorescent lighting well. And again, they are very low maintenance plants. When I first got my Chinese Evergreen, I kind of just stuck it on top of my dresser and I left it alone for maybe 2 months. The poor thing did not get watered very often. It didn't get a whole lot of sunlight either, mostly very low indirect sunlight, and it still grew a lot of baby plants for me. I believe is a wonderful house plant for beginners is a snake plant, also known as a Sanseveria. Snake plants are extremely low light tolerant. They do grow best in a more moderate lighting condition. Plants are a succulent plant, so they don't need much water at all. If you're an overwaterer, please be careful because these plants do tend towards root rot. If you are an underwaterer, then snake plants are your guy. Snake plants prefer a well-draining soil. Any kind of aerated soil for cactus is perfect for a snake plant. Most people just find a moderately lit place in their home and sit these guys there, and you don't even have to pay attention to them except maybe once a month or so to give them a little bit of water. Most people either kill plants by overwatering them or underwatering them. Many of us are a little too attentive, and I'll admit I had that problem in the past, that I would overwater a lot of my plants and they would get root rot and they would die, and I had no idea what I was doing wrong. Every plant I've shown you today would much prefer to be underwatered. Snake plants are absolutely gorgeous. I think they make a wonderful addition to any home, and it's really cool because these guys do filter a lot of toxic compounds like benzene and formaldehyde. I actually had this plant in my bedroom for a while because snake plants actually produce their oxygen at night, which makes them a great choice for the bedroom. Unfortunately, my bedroom really doesn't get a ton of light. It does in the morning, but where I had this guy, he didn't get any light at all. And even though they really can tolerate low light conditions, I want to see him grow as much as possible, so I keep him in here because he gets pretty good indirect light throughout the day. There's basically no care involved with them, just water them occasionally, put them in an area that gets even just a little bit of light, and these guys will do wonderful. Well guys, those were a few of my suggestions for great houseplants if you are a houseplant beginner. If you don't know much about plants and you are hoping to get into plants but you're not quite sure where to start, I would highly suggest one of the 5 plants that I talked about today. Remember that overwatering is usually the biggest killer of plants. So as much as I personally want to give my plants all the love and attention, remember most plants do better being underwatered, especially the ones that I talked about today. I think if you don't have any houseplant experience, I would highly suggest one of these 5 plants. They are going to give you some confidence growing plants, and they're going to make you feel good, especially the ones that are fast growing like the Pothos and the Jade Plant. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I can't wait to see you next time.